Hi, Priyanka.
Hello.
Welcome to everybody for joining us on this OYF show. Well, before we get started, I have a power nugget for you guys yet again. Uh, well, it's simple. Guys, it's important to just be you because everything aligns to you, and what doesn't align was never meant to be. So don't really bother about what doesn't align. What do you think about this, Priyanka?
What do I think that's a deep thought, and what I would want to collect my thoughts before I can say something about this. I would say that it's the only thing that you would rely on, or at least I would rely on, and every day when we move forward, you don't know what the next day has, but at the end of the day would go, and you would still be there for yourself. So it's a good space to be, to say hello to yourself, I think. That'd be one way forward. So, with that, let's introduce the show.
Well, welcome once again, and we have a wonderful guest today, all the way from US, my dear friend Rachel.
Good.
And Rachel, by the way, let me just give a very short little introduction before we hand over for Rachel to begin. Rachel is an author. Rachel is a social influencer. Rachel is a social catalyst, as I call her. And Rachel is a wonderful human being. I call her the queen of kindness and somebody who gives selflessly. Here is Rachel for us, and we're going to talk about a lot of things about her journey, starting unknown, finishing unforgettable, and lots more. I think we'll uncover a lot of elements, a lot of things about Rachel, who she has been, what she's been experiencing, what are the lessons from her life for everybody to experience, and how owning your future is so very important, true to our own show. Well, Rachel, thanks a lot for taking out time and being here. Uh, and I would love you to start off with telling us a little bit about yourself, how you started your journey, where you were born, something about your childhood, and the little Rachel who you look back upon and say, well, what is Rachel when she started unknown? Thanks for coming over, Rachel. Over to you.
Oh, thank you so much, Priyanka and Reggie, for having me. It's absolutely my honor to be here. And thank you for the introduction. As you guys know, I was born in India. And that is a common question I get a lot. Where do you come from? I get that a lot. So I was actually born in Tamil Nadu. My mom died 2 days after giving birth. I'm looking for my biological father. Um, and I was put into the home of the founder of an orphanage until I was adopted. And I was adopted at 11 months old and was raised, in America. And I'm deeply tied to my Indian roots. I go back there. I actually stay at the orphanage. That is my family. It's my second family. So I'm a huge advocate for supporting India. I never forget where I come from. Part of the proceeds of my book, some people know this and they don't know, I'm donating back to the orphanage. So that's why you see me do everything that I'm doing. I have a goal of something that I want to achieve to donate back to India and the kids at the orphanage. That's why I do everything I do.
That's a very kind thought, and I want us to repeat that so that all of us can remember that these are these little deeds that you can do, or little deeds that you can think and remember to do when you think you can do something nice and you want to give back to a society. So appreciate the effort that you make. I think those little efforts are bringing a lot of love and affection your way, which is why it's such a pleasure to have a chat today.
Yeah, I don't forget where I come from. I never do. Like India, Reggie knows India is in my blood. It's in my heart. It's in my soul. So this is what I'm fighting. Until I hit the goal of what I want to accomplish, those kids are everything to me. The people who work in the orphanage are everything to me. So that I'm determined. I'm motivated. I don't let anything or anyone stand in my way. Reaching my goals. Reggie will tell you that.
Yes. And I think a part of that goal has also been books along the way. So tell us about the first one that you wrote about. Tell me the name. Tell me what I can look forward to in the second one as well. So there's 2 books. It's not one.
But so my first book is Finding Your Way When Life Changes Your Plan. And and that's my biography. And the second book is a continuation because a lot of things happened after I wrote the first book. Like it just kind of went downhill even more. So I decided, well, the idea came to me from one of my friends who I met in India, ironically, and she lives in the States. And she said to me, I really feel like your story needs to be told. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not an author. And she said, do me a favor, sit down. Sorry, I just went back to school in my 40s, like finished my university degree. And so I started writing the first day, and I wrote for 5 hours. And it was like that every single day. So I wrote from like in August to in October, hired a publisher. And so that writing has been extremely healing for me. It's how I express myself. I do that through art, dance, and writing.
And what are you talking about in your second book? I understand there is a second one coming along.
It's a continuation. So it's like part 2. When people wrote the book, they read the book, they would say, oh, I want to learn about this and more stories about your travels in India, or they would, say. So also, like, I'm diving a little bit deeper. I'm sharing a little bit more
About your
the story.
Yeah, but kudos to you for having made that journey back to what was sometimes uncomfortable. It's not an easy thing to do. I mean,
Oh, it wasn't. There were times, when you have to dive deep into what's happened to you, and a lot of what's happened to me has been extremely painful. It's not easy to open up all those wounds, but you deal with it. It's out.
Yeah, so I don't want to ask you questions around that journey, but I want us to talk about Rajiv. What is it that you would like to know more about, and what is the insight?
Rachel, interesting points. You always sort of get me to sort of think about the amazing work that you do. I've always been curious to sort of understand what inspires you, what motivates you, and what is it that sort of keeps you going through your childhood, through who you've become. What's that one thing that inspires you, which you can share with people for them to learn from? I think it'll be interesting to get your thoughts on that. Because there's something that's there, some spark is there, it sort of keeps you moving, right? It's not easy to do that.
Yes, and it's not because you know what I do every day. So it's what keeps me motivating are all my purposes. It's very simple. It's using my voice to change the things I don't see in the world. My favorite quote in the world is, be the change you wish to see in the world, by Gandhi. That is my mantra. So I see all these things in the world that I don't agree with. And I feel that my life was saved. Okay. I have 5 parents, right? The one that died, the one who took me into the orphanage, who fostered me. And then I have my 2 parents who adopted me. So I stand on the shoulders of these 5 parents, right? And that is something I think about every day. I'm not going to waste, my mom died giving birth to me. I'm not going to waste my life. I've also had 3 near-death experiences. So I'm not going to waste my life there either. What drives me every day is what I want to see change. We have a choice in life. We can be part of the problem, part of the solution. So I would like to be part of the solution. It's not easy. So it's hard to change what we're trying to change. But you can do it. And if you want to do it, it's up to you.
It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of commitment, and that's exactly what brings me to your purpose statements. As you said, the reason why you sort of live through each day is for making sure that your life is not wasted and what happened around is not something that's wasted. So very powerful. And that's exactly what owning your future is all about, right? If there are two things that you were to sort of tell somebody, that why should somebody choose to own their own future and not let things happen the way they have to, because that's exactly something which is so very uh, interesting to, because it's very easy to let go, right? It's very easy to say, let the world do what they want to do, let things happen the way they want to happen. But somebody who's gone through what you have gone through, somebody who experiences what you experience, and you look back and say, well, I have chosen to own my future. You have chosen to take actions which you have chosen to do, right?
Because I had no control over my life in the beginning. Right? I had absolutely no say in my life in the beginning. And it was, I would say, last 10 years, I've started to realize, because of everything of, moving from here to here, being adopted, I didn't have any say over that. So part of it is taking that control back. Because and then the issues I've had, battling a disease for 20 years that caused so much damage to me. I battled endometriosis for 20 years. So all these things that were out of my control, right? So it comes back to going, okay, well, what can I control in my life? How can, and now I'm very clear. I want what future I would like to have, what I'm trying to create, and that's what gets me up. I know what I want to do for India. I know how important this is to me. It's everything. And I'm trying to also, Priyanka and I were talking, as an Indian woman, I think it's really, 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 truly important to set an example for other Indian women. That you can accomplish anything, that we stand in our own power, that we're done being unapologetic. We're just done being unapologetic. And that's really, really important. And that, we don't need to justify, we don't need to turn down anything in us to make other people feel comfortable.
I will take this conversation to what has got all of us here together, and I want to kind of talk about the distinction between the virtual reality, if that's the right word to describe the internet and internet conversations, versus the non-internet conversation. So I want us to talk extensively around how has the internet, or how do you understand this medium, and then we'll delve deeper. So my first question is, what is your sense of the relevance of being on a social media platform, and specifically internet?
Here's the two biggest mistakes. You ready, Priyanka? I'll give you the secret right now. Number one, social media can be used for good. It does not have to be used for bad. And that is the mistake that people make. I will only use social media for good. That is it. You'll never see me write a negative word. You'll never see me write a negative comment. I'll talk about stuff in my tips for success and say, don't do X, Y, and Z. Why? Because I want people to succeed. The other thing is social media is a huge responsibility. And that's what people are missing. I am responsible for close to 250,000 people every single day. I do not take that responsibility lightly at all. I know what's going on with my network. I know some serious things that they're going through right now. And it's important. There's some people who are holding on by a thread. That's what's going on right now. Between job loss, family loss, grief, just their financial concerns, the mental health issues that are going on right now. So that's how you do it when it comes to the internet and getting your voice out there. What are you doing? If you have something to contribute to this world, you need to do it right now. And I talked to my network about this last March when we all got locked in. So if you have a gift or talent and you can help share it with this world, as a human being, you need to do that.
So what is the one thing that has helped you? I don't want to talk about numbers and how many people follow and what the network is like, but why did you, and the way I understand it, it's probably the simpler place to be able to speak your voice. But what is the one one thing that stays close to your heart, and you understand it as the difference between being able to say what you want to say on the internet versus outside?
I trust my soul, Priyanka. That's what it comes down. I trust my soul guiding me to use my voice for change. So
And
like, so that to use the internet to put that message out into the world. Everything I write is thought out. I don't just write. Here's my post. No, there's deep thoughts that go into everything that I write, and I trust my soul guiding me on this journey. Yeah,
one of the tougher things to do is to be able to write, and for those who write would be able to relate to this better, that when you're putting that sentence together, how clear your thoughts end up being,
I sleep on them. So I'll write a post, but won't, post it till the next day because I'll sleep on it because I tend to write my posts like late at night and I'm, winding down for the day. And then I'll sleep on it and I might edit it the next day before I put it out into the world. But every letter, every post is in deep thought.
Yeah, and content creation, that's so I'm looking at content creation also from the lens that we're able to put a lot of thought together, and it is still a non-AI function, and that's something which in all likelihood is going to continue to be that way, because irrespective of who comes to the internet with what, you still need to be able to draft a sentence or a conversation or a post or a picture with text or not, or a video. But the fact still remains that you would need a human head to be able to put that together. And I think which is why content creation as a responsibility, not as a profession, will probably thrive in the way we try to convey a message. And it's a very responsible space to be in, and I'm glad we shared that thought, that social
Yeah.
media and content is extremely responsible work instead of frivolous talk around just something that you have to say.
I see it every day. I look at some posts and I'm like, okay. I mean, that's reality. I mean, because I go through and, I'll go through my feed on the weekends and I'll think about, wow, you have this space, you've got this amount of words that you could be putting into the world. And sometimes it's shocking to me, some of the messages. I don't support messages that are not for change, right? So if I see, like I'm always on Reggie's posts, and so if I see somebody who's actually moving this world forward, I'll support it. I'll get on there, I'll like it, I'll write a comment. If I see somebody taking this world backwards, or they're just, and it doesn't resonate with me, then I just move on.
So what do you do when you have sorry, Rajiv, I just did so that we don't lose the train of conversation.
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you do when you what do you do when you have something uncomfortable to talk about? How do you say, like, it's not very difficult to understand what's comfortable and what's not, what is political and what is apolitical, or what is controversial or what is not controversial. So how do you, and it's not that nobody wants to not talk about not controversial. So how do you deal with that? What is your advice
I
on that?
discuss a lot of controversial stuff, and I do it either. Raj, you've seen me do it. Like I deal with racism a lot in this country. I've had really horrible experiences during this pandemic, and I was very honest with my network. I turned on the camera and said, "This just happened to me." Yeah, and you could see, I was tearing up. I'm not gonna hide behind what's happening or what the real reality is. Like, I'd rather just go and say, hey, I actually did one where I read a poem, and I was crying. And I just said, today's not a good day, because everybody's on social media saying everything's great, wonderful, every single day. Well, that's not anybody's reality. We all have good days and bad days. So I will talk about those uncomfortable conversations, because there are people out there who need other people to use their voice so they feel that they're not alone. They understand what somebody else is going through, and it's crucial for people to do that, especially when it comes to mental health. I mean, that's Very important.
I think you bring out a very interesting point, Rachel. I've been, I just want to take the conversation to something which sort of crossed my mind as you were talking about things. You've had, you wore the hat of being an author. You've been writing a book. You've sort of expressed your thoughts. You've given your story a life. You're giving it a second part now, and therefore you are, in the real convention sense, an author who's brought out a book and written it. And now you are playing a much larger role of a content creator, a social media influencer, where you take, and I know that very well, that you take this very seriously and you take full responsibility for what you want to do. So, and that's equally a very challenging type of and I've sort of interacted with you a few times, and you always said that it's like a full-time job. Why should anybody be disrespectful of somebody doing work for the online space? And I completely agree and understand where you're coming from. My question is that in your role as the author, as the writer of a book, and in your role as a social media content creator, what has been similar and what has been different for you? What's been your experience through doing both?
The writing ties it all together. So if I wasn't comfortable, writing, or I was writing the book, enabled me to write and let go. In the beginning, like you're writing it, and I was freaking out about the periods, commas, grammar, and then I hired my publisher. She said, "Rach, keep writing. I will edit it from here." So it gave me that freedom to go, you know what? I don't have anything to lose. I'm going to express myself through writing, and it will. Someone's going to agree with it. Someone's not. Social media. Someone's always got a comment. So that the writing tied it all together.
Interesting.
And when you write for either of the two, you do the same person. You use the same kind of language, or would you think of it differently?
I think it's the same language, but there's things that if I'm sharing, when I'm writing the book, and it's kind of a little different though, because I know that when I'm writing my book, I don't have that responsibility, right? I don't have that. I'm writing the book. It's going to go out into the world. I have the responsibility to my network, and so it's a different kind of writing.
It's more conversational, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely. And Priyanka, to your point, it's actually going back to the same thing what Rachel was saying, that social media is a responsibility, and actually it's a bigger responsibility if you think about it. Because with the book, you probably have a chance to get it edited, get it corrected.
Yes.
But with social media, you're there and you're responsible for what you're saying, you're responsible for what you're standing out, and you're also accountable for what you're saying and standing up for. Are you showing up with consistency? Are you being able to be there in the real sense of who you are? So I would gather from what Rachel is expressing here that while authoring a book is challenging, but taking responsibility and accountability for social media content is probably, if not more, 3 to 5 times more challenging. That's what I'm taking out of this.
Yeah, Rajiv, you're absolutely correct. It is more challenging, but but I'm taking on the challenge. And I've definitely taken it on since the pandemic, started a year ago. You have to be aware. Some people don't think before they post. That's a huge, and I've said to my network, I'm like, do you even read what you're putting out into the world? I'm like, because I'm like, whoa, okay. Like, so some people just do it to do it. They want to produce, they want to pump. Like, Rajiv, if I only post Monday through Friday, I take the weekend off.
Yeah.
But some people pump it. They want that fast, and just not how I'm going to do it. I'd rather put the thought into it. Take the time. I'm very strategic about all my content. You have to have a content, strategy. This is what people are missing. Because they'll say, Rachel, I don't know what to put out tomorrow. And I'll say, and I'll talk to them about it. You have to have a content, calendar, strategy. What are you going to talk about? And everything I do is pre-thought.
Do you want to talk a little more about content strategy? Do you want to maybe recall a project, or do you want to talk more about something that you've consciously followed and in the name of content strategy?
Yeah, here's an example. So every Mother's Day and Father's Day, I write a post, and I always have a specific interview, right? And Mother's Day, why? Because it is, as much as people are celebrating Mother's Day and Father's Day, it's a very painful day for people who don't have kids, who have lost kids, who have battled infertility, which is me. And then, so I put this out, asking social media, like, to have a heart, because not everybody is a mother and father. And you were really cutting out all those people. So that week, I do that.
Yeah.
Okay, Mother's Day is coming out on Sunday. This is for the infertility community. This is for the people who have lost children. And Sunday is absolutely horrible for them. So it's strategic like that. It's like, are you aware of the other community that is hurting right now as you're celebrating? And I know I spend 1 hour on Mother's Day and Father's Day on social media. That's it, because I can't take the Happy Mother's Day over and over and over again. And it doesn't mean I don't celebrate people who are parents. I have parents. I threw Mother's Day brunch for my mom. Like, we celebrate the people in our lives, but there needs to be empathy. Yeah. I know for some friends who have lost children, some of them don't get out of bed. They don't even know about the day. So it's being using that content strategically to help other people.
It's also to say that social media. So I have to be honest here. Like, very often, if I was to read my work, or if I was to read the comments that come in out at a platform, very often it's all good. Just let the most of it just pass. The fact remains that somewhere we've kind of tried to build this beautiful world. I don't know if it's all good, but we all know that it will have its gray shades. But on the media and on maybe a photograph sharing network, it's assumed that you are having a wonderful life, that you have the prettiest wife, that you have the fanciest car, and everything that's happening to you is all good. And we kind of build this little space for us to believe that everything that's happening to anybody is all good because the pictures say it like that.
And that's a false, and it's not good. It's not good for people's mental well-being. I had a good friend of mine had written me. He's like, I think I need to get off social media. And he said, why? I said, I feel like I can't compete. I can't live to this. And I talked to him privately, on the phone, and said, listen, you don't need to just compete with yourself. You don't need to compare. I don't compare myself to anybody. I don't compete with anybody else on this platform. That's what hurts people. And I said, listen, just be kind. You don't need. I'm like, some of the things that you're saying are not reality.
Right.
And that's what I mean. I see people abuse social media. I see them I know the effect of what their post is going to have on people, because I'll see it and go, well, that's going to make people not feel good about themselves. So yeah, so I'll share good, bad, ugly. I'm really okay with saying today is not a good day, or I think people need to see that side of social media. I think they need to see, I tell my network all the time, not perfect. I make a ton of mistakes, and that's okay. That's really, really okay. Because I want them to see, because nobody's perfect. Nobody.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And you said a very interesting point in the earlier part of your conversation. You said writing is very healing,
Yes.
right? And it's a very interesting observation about what writing can do to you. It's very empowering. It's very liberating. It's very healing, right? Now, I will again switch it over to social media. And social media also is about writing, about expressing your voice. And if you're committed to it, like you are, like many of us are, where we don't do it for the, and I'm not trying to be judgmental on people, but there are many people here who will just do like, and just say yes and just pass away, right? And I'm not being judgmental, but that's the reality about it, right? A lot of people have started looking at a medium like LinkedIn, which is akin to maybe Facebook. All is fine. The question that comes here is that what is your view of people who engage and people who really want to leverage the medium like LinkedIn to be successful and to be able to really make an impact? Like we were talking before the show, impact doesn't need to be in numbers. Impact needs to be in, as long as you can affect one person, have them touch their soul, I think that's good enough. I know what your view is, but I would want the rest of the viewers, whenever they get a chance to see this, to know what you think about it.
Well, first of all, here's the biggest mistake, Reggie, people make. Okay, they don't engage. That right there, you're never going to be successful on this platform. Engagement is how you look how that's exactly how you and I met. You started writing on my post. I was like, hey Reggie, nice to meet you. And we built this friendship, and here we are today, and we've done Divine, and you've been on my show. If you can't see that person, you're clicking the like, which everybody appreciates. Everybody is grateful for that, because especially someone like me who's trying to get a specific message out, you need to get out there. You need to build these friendships. If you are behind the scenes, and maybe that's your comfort level, like you said, we don't judge people for it, but that's how you build the friendships. And let me say this. So people like me who are like maxed out now, right? I'll go onto your posts when I'm commenting, and I'll go through your entire post and look who's being nice to my friend Reggie, and I'll go follow. Well, I can't follow those people if I don't see their comment, right? If they're standing behind the scenes and they didn't write a comment on your post, I didn't see them. But now, and I look at my friend's post, and I literally go through, I'm like, wow. I did with one last night, actually. One of my close friends did this. She did a phenomenal post. So I went through the entire thing. I looked at all the support, the encouragement, everything that they were giving her. I was like, these are my kind of people. Click, went through that whole post. So that's how people are hurting themselves. They're not out there. They're not out there commenting. They're not out there having that conversation. I've built all my friendships, and everybody that I've met on the spot has been through engagement. It's also how we know you and I know each other. Like when we sit down for like chai tea, we're gonna have a long conversation. That's how we get to know each other. It is through the comment section. And also, let me say this: people are reaching out more now in the comment section than they ever have been. I caught 3 really serious comments this last year for people looking for help. So if you're a human being, look at it. And the 3 comments that I saw weren't even on my post or my friend's post. They didn't see it, but it was a real cry for help. Like really serious, really serious situations were happening to them. So I don't just fly around and go no. I look, I stop, I slow down, I read your post, I see what you're doing, what you're talking about, and then I engage with you. I don't just done. No. I'm like, what's Rajiv talking about today?
Interesting. Priyanka, want to say a few words to summarize this conversation before we ask Rachel to sort of give
I
her...
want to say I want coffee. And I'd be happy to share that mug, and I'd be happy to see you in New York if possible.
Yeah. It's my favorite city in the world. My parents are from here. A lot of my my grandparents were, and so it's my favorite city in the world, and a lot of happy memories for me.
I wouldn't understand why a busy city would be everybody's favorite city, but I would want to find out. Maybe we can do that together sometime, if possible.
Yeah. You guys all come. We'll meet in New York, and it's the energy.
Yeah.
And I love the diversity of it. The other thing that we've got to talk to is we're trying to end the stereotypes when it comes to Indians, and we're gonna keep doing that.
So I want to take I want to take this moment and not miss what we've already covered, but I want to summarize it, and I want to say a few things that will stay close to me, and I hope that people who listen and watch can take that back as well. One is to be yourself. Rajiv, we started with that, and how Rachel is just herself, and how in being that herself, that she is able to say about things which are uncomfortable, and not everything that she is bringing out to the world is all about rosy and happy days. And the honest submission that social media may have built over the years, but the honest submission that there are days which are good, which are bad, and there are people who are there to support, like how Rachel is supporting not just those who are in America and the community that she's literally heading, but also those little girls in the part of Tamil Nadu, India, to be able to really go ahead and own their futures. So, Rachel, appreciate what you do. We'd love to be able to help you in any manner you think we could be of use to you.
Oh,
Let's also connect. Maybe New York, maybe Tamil Nadu. Who
well,
knows?
yeah, I can't wait to get back to Tamil Nadu.
Yeah,
It's been some time, so I can't wait for that. I mean, I think we have a responsibility. I know I feel it for um, all those children, right? Who are, who need that help. Who need that. That's why I mean I love staying. When I go back, you'll see videos at the orphanage and my relationship with the people there. But it is a responsibility. That's why I don't forget where I come from. Well, I've been very blessed. Was adopted by wonderful people. Have had a very blessed life, and I don't take anything for granted.
yeah.
But through all that, like I've also dealt with things that people have no idea about whatsoever. I haven't even shared part of the story yet.
Wonderful. I think this has been quite a uh, interesting conversation about the real Rachel, her journey through where she came from and what she's sort of evolved into, and the wonderful person that she is. And more importantly, I
Thank you.
think what I really liked about this conversation, honestly, was Rachel, that we we brought about the fact that you were kind enough to bring out the real person, the real author, the real human being, and how it exists and continues to evolve in the virtual world, and the fact that your responsibility only increases there. And I think that's my biggest takeaway out of this, if you ask me honestly. So it's not only just about being you, but it's being more responsible, more accountable, and actually taking more ownership for what you wish to do. And if you wish to choose to do that, I think everything is possible. I think that's what I learned out of this conversation. So thanks a lot for uh, coming here, being you, as always. uh,
Thank you,
Always a
Priyanka.
pleasure.
Steve. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Always a pleasure.
Thank
We'll
you
be
very
back
much.
for Bali.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we will be back. Absolutely
we
right.
will be back for Diwali.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.